you an update. We got 14 guys that have been drafted, either played in the bowl or have gone through FBU. So it's kind of neat. Everything we're talking about is actually coming to fruition for one of those kids. We understand that it's a very few that get that level. We start on the first day, but it is kind of exciting when they do get there to know that we were a little bit on the journey. I think the more exciting is the poster I was showing you earlier of all the kids that got to college from being with us. So, athletes are in the class where the coach is. We're going to chat for maybe about a half hour or so, and then we'll get back out on the field. So hopefully that last presentation was good. Hopefully it would reinforce a lot of things that we as parents are always saying to our kids about social media, protecting themselves, and hopefully educated you guys as well as what's out there and how it could be beneficial for the athletes. So for all of our new parents, and then some of those may have been with us in the national championship or previous FBU camps, I want to take a minute to talk a little bit about who we are at All-American Games. Think about all the different events that we do, how they're all tied together, how everything leads to a path, and the different opportunities that your athlete can be presented with now that they're part of the FBU family. So All-American Games is the name of our parent company. We're the leading youth and prep sports marketing company. We are on the proud creators of the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. We produce elite high school and youth sporting events. We're probably about a year away from going into our second sport, non-football. And we're really excited about that. We've been doing a lot of research about building the template, the structure we have as a corporate company to run these great events, and then figuring out what's our next sport to really get into. And we've been featured numerous times in multiple major organizations. So as I mentioned on Friday night, our main goal of FBU is to identify America's best football players, match them up with some world-class training, and make them better starting today for tomorrow. And on top of that, we now, once we get to know them, we've identified and trained them, we want to showcase them. We want to brag about them, just like you brag about your children, their accomplishments. We want to do the same thing. So when we brag, we send that stuff out to college coaches. When we brag, we invite them to Top Gun, the other different events, where they can now be showcased on a pedestal, so to speak, and highlighted. So some of you may have gotten here in multiple different ways. Obviously, Football University started off as an invite only. We really want to train elite athletes that really have the potential to be tracked and play in the U.S. Army game. As the camp evolved over the past 6 years, we really focused on the serious athlete, the kids that want to get to the next level, junior high to high school, freshmen to start varsity, varsity get to college. So there's multiple ways. Now, since you have all attended a full-fledged camp, some of you for the first time, you are now considered alumni. You are welcome to come back at any camp, any year, anytime you want. So whether it doesn't have to be the Bay Area camp, it could go visit grandma in Atlanta, it could go to the Midwest, come see us in Jersey, but now you're in. The next thing we have is our Scout Invite, or now a new program called I-350. So our Scout Invite is we have coaches, parents like yourself, that know the game of football, that have, I don't say been trained, but have gone through some type of a guidance program from us on what we're looking for in an athlete that we want to award to become part of the FBU experience. So we have guys like that across the region. We have guys across the country that go and identify these athletes and invite them right into camp. And the third level is probably how some of you guys may have come in. You may have just heard about FBU from a friend, gone onto the website, filled out the nomination form, and been followed up with a phone call and email, and reviewed, and then awarded the invite code to attend FBU. So those are kind of the three ways those. And again, a nomination could be an athlete, can nominate themselves, which we find happens quite a bit. So then the parents go, what is this? And how do we learn more about it? When we call them. Or a coach or a parent can certainly nominate themselves. Now, this right here is probably the best way to explain how all of our events are tied in together. So if you look at it from a calendar aspect, down here we have the I-350. The I-350 is the Impact 350. 350 players within a given camp region that we've identified through live scouting, film review, that say that athlete is going to make an impact or already is making an impact at the level they're playing at. So these are probably of the advanced players, probably the very advanced. The ones that are really at the next level of playing. The other way is we're in our 4th year of creating the national championship. If you can close your eyes for a second, think of the Little League World Series. Regional teams, all-star teams, playing together, moving down into a bracket, into Williamsport, and playing as a Little League World Series. Well, we've built that format in youth football, and that's the FBU National Championship. We had teams from the greater Bay Area, Sacramento, that all played 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, all-star teams that played. Final 4 teams came down to San Antonio. So those are 2 ways you can funnel into the FBU camp. Now, once you're here at the FBU camp, the next step is Top Gun. Top Gun is our all-star showcase, if you will, in Dublin, Ohio. And the top 10 to 15% of the athletes, and it's not guaranteed because it fluctuates based on the talent level of camp. Like we just came from a camp last week in Nashville, and the talent level really wasn't there comparative to other camps. So a smaller percentage of those athletes will get invited. There could be a higher percentage in the Bay Area of athletes per position, and they get invited to Top Gun. Top Gun now takes your athlete who did well regionally and compares him nationally. How does this quarterback throw against kids from Texas, New Jersey, Florida, Ohio? How's my lineman? What's the size? Because he may be a big kid here, but is he really that comparable to the lineman coming out of Pennsylvania, Nebraska, and so forth? So we have a Top Gun showcase. Best way to explain that is last year, Top Gun had 1,500 athletes, a 3-star general, a motivational speaker from Detroit, humanitarian from Nebraska Huskers, and a Rhodes Scholar who was a former U.S. Army All-American, all under one roof for 6 days. So it really is a tremendous experience for those kids, and it's great on that exposure level to boost their confidence. So that's our Top Gun held in July. Now from there, we now get into we let you guys play the season, and we get into our events that have traditionally been held in San Antonio. So if you're in the high school, sophomore, junior, you can be invited to go to our National Combine. National Combine is the top 500 underclassmen that will go through a traditional combine evaluation of speed, agility, and then we do 101 competition drills. Our FBU coaches are on there, on hand, to coordinate these kids. Of these 500 kids, we start to select the following year's U.S. Army All-Americans. So from our 2014 National Combine, we've already started selecting class of 15 and class of 16 U.S. Army All-Americans and started to identify them. But at the same time, we've had a ton of kids. We had 200, out of those 500, 275 came from our FBU camps. And we're going to probably award 1 or 2 combine invites this weekend. If you're on the youth side, well, traditionally, they've gone to become the East Bay Youth All-Americans. I think we had one of the kids here, and I asked him the other day, well, I think one of the young men that's attending this camp was an East Bay All-American. 6th, 7th, 8th, and we've had 9th graders go down to San Antonio, and it's kind of like an undercard of the U.S. Army All-American. Best kids from across the country, East versus West, and they go at it and treat it like rock stars down in San Antonio. One of the new things we're going to build out this year is we are going to build an additional event from the National Combine. It's going to be the underclassmen combine, we're tentatively calling it right now, and that's going to be for the 9th, 10th graders. So we're going to make more juniors into the National Combine and bring our 9th and 10th into a underclassmen combine that will be held in San Antonio in first week of January, right along the weekend of the U.S. Army Bowl. So look for an additional event to come in there. So I've been walking around in between practices, had some great conversations, got to meet some great parents. I love to hear the stories of how you got into FBU and good or bad experiences with it. More importantly is it's good to hear the bad as well, as much as it is to hear the good stuff and the accolades, is how has FBU helped your athlete? So, and more importantly, is how can FBU help your leagues? So we've got a bunch of regional scouts, and I mentioned this earlier when we talked about the I-350, is that we've identified people that said, hey, I'm interested in becoming an FBU scout. And if you are, reach out to me. Walk around, and all we're looking to do, which is on a volunteer basis, you got a nice red shirt that says, talk to me about FBU Regional Scout, and we give you the tools and kind of with the ability to go and give invites, so that you can avoid an athlete going through the nomination process, and we evaluate them. We now trust you. You've seen the talent level, you've seen the intensity out in the field, and now we give you that ability to go and award the kids the invite to attend camp directly. So if you're looking to do it, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to get you information, get you signed up to help us scout. So again, we talked a little bit about the I-350, and this is kind of I don't want to use the word recruiting because we're not doing it for schools, but what we're really doing is trying to really dive deeper and find that really great talent in your market and kick it up a notch a little bit more what we can provide them. And we want to identify those kids and showcase them a little bit more. Again, these are the kids that are going to be the impact players in their area. So again, you could be an advanced player, but you may not be the best in that area, one of the top, and that's what we're looking to do. Probably 100 from high school and 150 from youth. So we talked a little bit about on Friday night, but I want to reiterate it because it is important. Because we value your investment you've made with us. Obviously the coaches and the amount of reps the kids getting speaks for itself. But once this is done, what's still going on behind the scenes that's going to help get your son that college exposure? Well, everybody sat today with NCSA, and you're able to hear what the services they can provide and how they benefit you and your athlete in the recruiting process. 24/7 support of sports. The top 3 kids from each of the high school positions will be awarded a 24/7 profile. That now gets them on a ranked website, and then based on how they play, how many schools we're looking at, and what's their interest level, now they become ranked. So we just provide, say, hey, these are some of the top athletes at our position from the Bay Area that you guys should be having and deserving of a profile. And then from there, 24/7 will do its diligence and begin to rank those based by state, region, and national. Who's the best running back, who's the best quarterback, and hope your athlete will fall in that category there. We also submit a summary report from the camp, a story that's posted on 24/7 that we link back to our site. So again, we go back to when I was talking about social media. When someone goes to Google your athlete's name, now boom, it pops up that they're on 24/7. That adds legitimacy to any coach looking at it. And lastly, we have our LRS Sports, where we have Coach Dan Higgins here, and Randy Rogers, who does our evaluations in the Greater Texas, is they now are out there, evaluating the athletes, writing notes, sends a detailed report back to over 400 plus colleges that subscribe to their services. What their services really are is the colleges subscribe to their research. They compile these reports. So now, if I'm at the University of Connecticut and I need a great linebacker, and I'm recruiting the greater Northern California area, I can go in and search and get their report, search your database. I need a linebacker with a 3.2, 6'2", 240 pounds, that runs a 40, decent time, and boom, because your coach was here, your son's information pops up if he fits in that query. So these guys push information to the universities on your behalf without even you knowing it. And because they're on the list, don't be surprised now if you start to see phone calls coming in, letters appearing in the mail, things like that, because all 3 of these services are working on your behalf. Now, it's interesting. I've had a couple conversations with some parents about other events. There are a ton of football opportunities for your athlete. I wish half of these were around when I was coming up. How do we organize? How do we determine what's the best for our athlete? Coach is going to want us, high school coach is going to want us to go this way. Our son wants us to go here because this looks cool. Oh, but we've already been FBU over here. So how does it all tie in? So if you look at it, you've got combines. So the definition of a combine is an evaluation or showcase designed to test their athletic ability. So my advice to you is when you ask for the opportunity to attend a combine, just like I'm sure you did to attend football university, is do your due diligence. Take a look at who's really running them. Are the times digitally recorded, or is it just Coach Charlie from down the street with a fast stopwatch? Where are the results of this combine going? Who's going to be there to evaluate or review them? How good is the competition that's going to be there? Is it comparable to what was at FBU camp, or is it down a little bit and it's just a money maker? Okay? So again, there are some good combines out there, and there's some ones that are just fly by the seat of their pants, want to do an event and try to make a little money and then move on. So do your diligence, find out which ones are the better ones. By all means, don't hesitate to call our office for advice. Talk to some of our regional guys here. We're more than happy to give you an objective evaluation of whether or not it's a worthwhile investment. The next aspect of it, so now you've gone to a combine, you've set that baseline, we know where our 40 time is, we know what our broad jump is, we've kind of got that established, and I've got those stats. Now, I'm going to come to a development camp. So your choices are either football university or the IMG Academy down in Florida. Now, you can see here, we're focused on technique. So it's great, I'm talking to a father whose son's going to go to a combine next weekend, or thinking, or one of the colleges coming up, and what a perfect opportunity to attend an FBU camp to get tuned up with his technique a week before he goes to this combine. So he's going to get his legs underneath him, he's going to get in shape a little bit. More importantly, he's about 7 to 10 days after getting great coaching from his NFL level, he's going to go compete against some guys. So that's why that's how football university fits in. We're that development aspect. We're that tune-up. You want to be doing this if you're, as juniors are getting ready to go to all the college camps, fit in an FBU camp in your schedule next year before you go to hit the college circuit. Because now you got your college camps, and every football program hosts them. And unless you're getting a true invite for those colleges, as far as a serious recruiting, because they're going to keep the athletes over here, and they're going to keep the really good ones over here. And you're not going to know, yes, the head coach may walk by, but you know whether if you're on that list for the quality guys that they're really recruiting. Or is it just a meat market over here, and they need to get their GAs busy? Nothing saying that a kid diamond in the rough can't go from one side to the other side, but majority of the times, it's really, do they really want you up there? Have you been to their campus? Are they communicating with the coaches? Are they inviting you up for the junior day? And have they really truly given you an invite to the camp? So the best part is they go through some testing, they go through one-on-ones. It's maybe a similar component or of agenda as the FBU camp. But here's the best part: is if they're recruiting 5 or 6 running backs from across the state, and I happen to be one of them. And now I go and I show up, and now there's 4 of the guys who look all like me. Same size, speed, agility. How am I going to separate myself from the other guys? Well, guess what? I spent 3 days with FBU, with NFL coaches, and was able to, my technique is better than the other 3. And that's what's going to set you apart in those college recruiters' eyes. Follow me on that? So that's kind of how all 3 can really be tied in together. So we talk about the ability to identify the best kids, match them up with some great coaching, and showcase them on a national stage. Out of the 100 kids that played in the U.S. Army game last year, in the past 6 years of FBU, 33 played in the U.S. Army game that have come through our camp. So that's telling you we've kind of got the right formula to the fact that we're able to identify these kids at an earlier age, junior high, freshman year, give these kids the proper training, and now they're part of the U.S. Army All-American. So we do some other regional events around here that can benefit the local community. So this morning we had a youth coaches clinic. I said maybe had about a dozen or so guys, youth coaches from around the area came in, some parents. Dads and the coaches sat in with myself, Coach Cottrell, and been kind of floating around there. So we do reach out to the local community to give back. So when FBU is in town, what can we be doing to help the local youth league and the local high schools in your program? I mentioned earlier that we had some regional combines prior to this camp. And it's a great way. I look at how I can spend my advertising dollars and promotional dollars to get the word out about FBU in this area. And I can certainly take a nice big ad out in the paper, in the Chicago papers, and, San Fran papers and the Sacramento papers. But I'd rather give you a true taste of what we're all about by hosting a quick little combine for 2-3 hours, charge your minimal fee, give the kids a nice little workout, show you the type of structure, the type of event that we're looking to run, the quality of people that we have running our events, and get your times out to the local, on our website or local coaches. So we've held some regional combines that we're now going to kick up in 2015 to be a little more serious with the high school. So one of the other things we've done the past couple of years is we are an international company. We've held camps in Canada. We've held camps in Europe. So one of the things we've done the past couple of years is while we're in San Antonio, we've brought kids from Europe, Canada, and Mexico to come play with some of our high school kids, some of our FBU alumni. We call the All-American Academic Team because we took it wasn't the U.S. Army kids, it was kind of the next level of kids that have come through the FBU camp that are at 3.6 or higher, and we brought them in and they played kind of a little round-robin showcase with these teams. And again, not only are we trying to promote kids to the next level in America, but we also did in Europe. We were able to have a kid come in from defensive end, came to our camp. We brought him a Top Gun. So he came from Europe, did well in the Europe camp, flew all the way over to Top Gun, dominated Top Gun, and was offered a scholarship at University of Incarnate Word in San Antonio. So here's a kid from Europe that now is playing Division I football, thanks to the channels of FBU. I mentioned about our Top Gun camp. You're going to find out tomorrow during the evals whether your son made it or has not made it. Yes, it's a great goal to have, but I want you to be realistic too, is that, your son could be disappointed that he didn't make it. Is it the end of the world? No. Could be the first time he's seen better competition. Could be the first time that he's really got this high-level coaching. And maybe he needs another year or another camp under his belt to, now that he's seen it, to perform well in it. We're only going to give it to a good 10-15% of the kids that attend the camp. And it's not up to me, it's up to the coaches. Because these guys travel across the country. They know what the level of competition looks like at various different positions. They know how demanding it is for the competition for quarterback, receiver, and running back. So please manage the expectations of your athlete tomorrow. If they don't get that Top Gun invite, life still goes on, and they can come back next year and really try to get one. Our National Gridiron Week is something that's a heck of a lot of fun. If you're a football enthusiast, then the first week in January in San Antonio is for you. It is what I'm calling the spring break of football high school and youth football junkies. I honestly, at this point, if it wasn't for my kids, we'd just flush right through Christmas and go right to bowl week. We have the U.S. Army Combine take place on that Thursday and Friday of bowl week. We have last year we had an alumni huddle, so we brought our alumni down and did an event. We have the U.S. Army Bowl. We have the East Bay All-American Bowl, the international kids. So the entire kind of calendar is dropped into, it kind of kickoffs that week in January. From there, we start our FBU camps in April, go all the way to July. Then we have Top Gun in end of July. Then we start our national championship in October, and we start pushing for that. So let's talk a little bit about this national championship, which, yes, the U.S. Army Bowl on NBC, million-plus viewers, FBU camp, we're probably going to train about 8,000 athletes this summer. But we think that this national championship is going to be one of the hottest and biggest properties we've built. Right now we have 3 major multimedia companies I want to say fighting over, but having some heavy discussions on who's going to carry the broadcasting rights for it. So if you could, last year we had our championship games on ESPN3, broadcast live from the Alamo Dome. So we had 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, all stars from the region, kind of non-denominational. It doesn't matter if you're a Pop Warner, AYF, PAL, church league. If you played football and you were in the 8th grade, then you were able to try out and be selected for this team. These teams came together about a week and a half, because it concludes right after your regular football season. And then from there, the athletes are matched up with coaches, and you play regional games. And then you move from one bracket to the next. So it's kind of like the whole March Madness bracketology, bringing it all the way down to San Antonio. This coming year, for 2015, we just announced it on Wednesday, that the final 4 teams of each 6th, 7th, and 8th grade team will now be held, our championship will be held in Naples, Florida. They have literally opened up the entire city for us, as we will potentially bring down close to 2,000 athletes and their families for a weekend in December, right before Christmas, in sunny Naples, Florida. So we're really excited about it. It opens up a tremendous amount of opportunities, and it kind of lets us build our own little Williamsport, if you will, over the next couple of years. So I think that this property is going to be the most exciting. We need your help with this one, though, because we need to find those 5th graders that are 5th graders now. They're going to be 6th graders in the fall, so we can start filling our teams. If you're a 6th, 7th grader for next fall, or an 8th grader, then you want to find out when the tryouts are, who the team director is, and that's Coach Padilla, who's helping us out here at the facility. You'll see him tomorrow at closing ceremonies, and let's get to know him. If you're interested in learning more, see myself or anybody else on the team. The East Bay Youth All-American Bowl, again, this is kind of the undercard of the U.S. Army Bowl. Kind of reiterate a little bit what I mentioned earlier. It's the top 7th, 8th, and U15. And we have kids that we identified 4 years ago from this event that are now playing in the U.S. Army Bowl. So again, another great way we can showcase some of these athletes. Our FBU Alumni Huddle is one of our events that we did in San Antonio every year. I mentioned about their U.S. National Combine. And then obviously the Granddaddy Mall, the U.S. Army Bowl on NBC, in front of a couple million people, 1.2 million people, and on NBC every year. So that kind of concludes who we are at All-American Games. Our goal is to really empower kids to make themselves better. If it's through sports, that's what we want. We have the U.S. Army All-American Band, so it's through music as well. Through our great events, through our showcasing, we want to empower kids to grow. So again, I greatly appreciate your time this weekend, trusting FBU, our staff, our coaches, with your sons. Hopefully we're able to provide with you, for them, a great experience. And I think we're probably around to take the field again, so appreciate your time. If anything else, don't hesitate to come up and see me.